My name's Professor Culum Brown and I am head of the fish lab here at Macquarie University in the Department of Biological Sciences. And the lab is quite broad in terms of the sorts of things we study, but it's essentially looking at the behaviour, ecology and evolution of fishes, both marine and freshwater. And we're really interested in understanding behavioural ecology so that we can apply that to things like fisheries, aquaculture and these sorts of questions. The major findings of our research have really focused on not just understanding behaviour but also trying to understand cognition, and that is getting a better idea of how fishes, sharks and rays think and how they move around their environment. So of course there are some very interesting results that have come out of our work. These include basically debunking many of the myths that people commonly think of when they think of fish intelligence. You can think of stories like, Finding Nemo, where you have Dory as a character who clearly is incapable of remembering anything. She suffers from short-term memory loss. Well, of course, a lot of our work shows that quite clearly fish aren't stupid like her. They have a fantastic memory capacity. And in fact that you need to have that capability in order to survive in the real world. I guess the other side of the work that we do has focused a lot on sharks, but also thinking about how sharks think about the world, how smart they are, how intelligent they are. And really again there it's about myth busting. People have this perception that sharks are these mindless killing machines that are going out of their way to kill us all by munching on us. Our research shows that clearly they're not. They're much smarter than people think. They're quite intelligent animals and their behaviour is quite sophisticated. A lot of the work that we've been doing lately has also focused on the social behaviour of sharks and rays and fishes, particularly with our work with manta rays, for example, where we've recently shown that they have these complex social groups that they hang out with their best mates. And even when you control for things like potential attraction to particular locations, they still have these preferred individuals that they hang out with. We've also shown that in Port Jackson sharks and other important model species, in black-tip reef sharks, and we're currently working on smooth rays, which are the biggest stingrays in the world. But we also have lots of implications of our research, trying to control people's perceptions of fish intelligence, shark behaviour, changing the way people think about these animals, and hopefully generating a bit more empathy for them. So a lot of the work we do has particular focus on understanding behaviour, but also thinking about what are the consequences of these research findings, particularly from an animal welfare perspective. So we spend a lot of time giving talks to animal activists and schools and things like this, talking about the welfare implications. So if fish are smart and intelligent, should we not be treating them rather in the similar sort of way that we treat other animals? And at the moment, for example, the legislation in Australia, state by state, varies tremendously in terms of what you can and cannot do to a fish, whereas universally for the rest of the terrestrial animals, they're nearly all protected all of the time under just about any circumstance. So there are important implications for our work from that perspective. In terms of future directions, one of the things that we're very interested in is understanding more about shark and ray movements and behaviour, but also thinking about it from a management perspective. Why do sharks and rays go where they go? What controls that behaviour? What are the environmental factors that are driving those changes in behaviour? We're also interested in trying to understand whether or not sharks have the capacity for pain perception. So we know that's true in fishes. So nociceptors, which are the pain receptors that you and I have, they date all the way back to the annelids. So even little worms in the sand have the capacity for feeling pain. For some reason, sharks have never been found to have nociceptors, and that has led some people to believe that they don't feel pain, but it's extremely unlikely that's the case. But that is certainly one of the avenues of research that we'll be chasing in the very near future. So I guess the main thing that we would ask people to do is think more about the ethics and welfare implications of working with fishes and sharks, whether you have fish at home, whether you go fishing, whether you support government legislation, for example, for shark nets or drum lining to remove and control sharks, and think about the broader implications that might have on the marine environment. Of course, we also welcome anybody who works in welfare and ethics areas to join the lab and help us along those research avenues.